Welcome, dear friends. If a man is frustrated or depressed, is there any way out? Any relief? Sigmund Freud says, yes, there is a relief, there is a remedy, a great medicine, and there is talk therapy, a very simple medicine. But he wanted to go back to the childhood stage. That is, during your childhood, you will have a lot of bitter experiences, bitter things, insults, and bad consequences during the childhood. And these impulses will have a lot of impact on the human mind even when that boy has attained this adolescent stage or even adult stage. Because of these childhood memories, to put it in a nutshell, the behavior of the boy or the girl will be very, very strange. And that behavior is called a maladaptive behavior. This maladaptive behavior means the behavior of the boy or that particular girl will not be in good order, not systematic, disorder. And we think that, oh, what is this boy or girl? His behavior is not good. He has no decency. And his way of speaking is also not good. And he doesn't know how to move with the friends and how to move with the colleagues or students, co-students. We think like that, and we will form a very bad opinion about these things. The boy or the girl who is afraid of this maladaptive behavior, and in addition to this maladaptive behavior at this stage, either at the adolescent stage or adult stage, in addition to these, the failures in life, different kinds of failures: failure in love, failure in friendship, failure in education, failure in a profession, or something else or the other. These failures will bring about a still more a melancholic mood, and totally he feels frustrated. And if that frustration is repeated and repeated, what will happen? He will be subjected to mental chagrin, mental agony. And for this mental agony, is there any medicine? Is there any treatment? Yes, Sigmund Freud says there is a treatment, and that treatment is the talk therapy. And what is that talk therapy? Talk therapy is nothing but a good interaction, a pleasant conversation between the client, that means a person who is in depressed condition, and the therapist. And here, one important thing is the therapist need not be a particular professional, a psychologist. He may be a very good friend also, his soulmate, his classmate, his colleague, or his own brother or sister is close to her soul, his soul. Yes, he experimented. Sigmund Freud experimented with one Anna. Oh, actually, she was the client of Breuer. That Breuer and Sigmund Freud jointly they wrote one book and they made an experiment on this Anna. But because of the fissures in friendship, he has been separated, that man. And Freud, Sigmund Freud, from the beginning till the end, he gave the treatment. It's a talk therapy treatment to Anna, and she has recovered anyway. That's a different thing. But he has been successful in that talk therapy. And this talk therapy, for the talk therapy, the therapist should be in such a way that the client must feel convinced by whatever the therapist says, or psychologist says, or that soulmate says. So, in such a way, the therapist or the psychologist must behave, must establish a beautiful rapport with the client. That is the point to be noted here. If the client is under the impression that yes, my psychologist or this therapist or my this soulmate is very very great, very very good, believable, most credible, then the client will be revealing each and everything, and at the same time, that the client will feel convinced by whatever the therapist says. How he followed the tradition and the individual talent. Sigmund Freud followed the tradition. What tradition? See, Generally, the people will feel convinced by our sermons. Suppose Christians, they feel fully convinced by whatever the Solomon or the Jesus Christ or Paul or John the Apostle. So, who are these evangelists, messengers from God, from the Almighty? So, whatever message they give, the people feel convinced because they are great, because they have the great souls. Same is the case with Bhagavad Gita also. What is the context of Bhagavad Gita? Arjuna wanted to leave the platform, that battlefield. He did not like to gain that power by killing his own kin and kith. He was in a highly depressed condition. Then Lord Krishna, the noble soul, gave a wonderful message at large, very lengthy message. And that is talk therapy, we can say. And finally, Arjuna felt convinced by his philosophy, by establishing a wonderful rapport, because they are just like close friends, not only relatives, very, very close friends, bosom friends in a way, we can say. So, the therapist should have a very great soul, a noble soul, a sublime mind, and the client must feel convinced. And same is the case with Dharmapada also in Buddhism. The Buddhist people will feel convinced by whatever the Buddhist monks say, whatever the message is given by the Buddhist monks, they feel convinced. They will be very much impressed. They will be having a lot of good interaction also with the monks. And same is the case with Muhammad Pravakta also. The Muslims feel convinced by Muhammad Pravakta's wonderful prophecy. So here, the long and short of the matter is that the client must feel convinced by the therapist who is of great soul. That is the medicine. And only that man will create that therapist or psychologist or soul mate, we can say, simply saying. Then only the interaction between the client and the therapist will be it will be very much interesting and exciting and pleasant also. And the purpose will be served, that is the point. And that kind of therapist only can create a life force in the mind of the client. Then he can say, life is just like the swimming. How the swimmer, you know, the swimmer will be concentrating to forge ahead by swimming, by forging ahead the waves. He doesn't think of the depth of the water. Suppose he's swimming there in the well or some lake or sea. He doesn't care for this. He doesn't think of the depth of the water. If he thinks the depth of the water, what will happen? He will be afraid. He will be afraid and he will be frightened also. Oh my God, very depth. The water is very deep. He thinks like that. He can't swim. So forgetting that, burying that thinking, he will be going ahead by swimming. In the same way, human being must forge ahead with burying the past, whatever may be the past, whether pleasant things or unpleasant things, but just bury the past. And for that, what is required is you must have a feeling of compromise. And compromise is the panacea for all ills of human being, human life. This is what George Eliot says in her novels. She is one of the topmost novelists in the world. Will on the Flowers, Middlemarch, all these great are great novels. So in all her novels, the thematic point is this: compromise is the only panacea for all ills of life, she says. So just go ahead with a compromise, and the client will feel convinced, and the client will have she will or he will repose the faith in the therapist only when the words or the emotions or the thoughts which the therapist is imparting to the client must be very much attractive. It must be receptive at the same time. And the relationship between the therapist and this client should be very attractive, very nice, pleasant, most convincing. It should be cemented at the same time. And I have told you one thing, that the therapist may be anybody, not only a psychologist, not only a particularly a professional. Your own sister, for example, I will tell you one example from William Wordsworth, the greatest romantic poet, nature poet. Wordsworth's sister's name is Dorothy, and Dorothy's husband died. Dorothy was always in the a melancholic mood, sitting somewhere in some corner. Then William Wordsworth took her to the beautiful estates, woods. He advised her, "My dear sister, you come and see how beautiful the seas, how beautiful the flowers, the plants, the brooks, the rocks, the hillocks, estates, woods. You see, if you love them, people may deceive you, betray you, but these beauties of nature will not betray you. Only thing is, you must have the aesthetic sense. That means love of nature. Nature here means beauties of nature means not only these brooks, rivers, seas, plants, hillocks, woods, etc. Not only this, the music, the art, the sculpture, the writing, some poetry, or any some literature, any art for that matter, which has pleased you, which has attracted you, which has given you peace of mind, which has given you some great pleasure. That is beauties of nature. If you have the aesthetic sense, definitely you will get a great relief. That is called pantheism. That means divining, visualizing the divinity in the beauties of nature, like music, art, sculpture, or these objects of nature, whatever. So that kind of relationship is to be established between the client and the therapist. The ultimate conclusion here is, if one is able to obtain a soulmate, maybe a friend, a sweetheart, a colleague, neighbor, whosoever, or your own brother or sister, only thing is you must have the good attachment, very strong attachment, cementing attachment. Both are merged with each other. And when you have become a soulmate to the client, and the client has become a soulmate to the therapist, psychologist, the two persons, we can say, they will be drawn each other, and they will be revealing each other, and in course of conversation, things will be revealed, the mind will be revealed. In that revelation, all problems, the trauma will be going out first of all. That's all. The mental trauma will be disappeared, and a sort of revelation, a sort of awakening, a sort of enlightenment will start. This is about the talk therapy in brief, and the still more remedies for the depressed souls I shall explain to you in the coming videos. Thank you very much, and if you are impressed, please subscribe and encourage me. Thank you.